The courtroom went quiet when my sister smiled. Not the polite kind, not the nervous kind. The kind of smile you give when you think the ending is already written. She stood up, smoothed her blazer, looked straight at me and said, clear, confident, almost proud, "Finally, your house is mine." A few people gasped. Someone behind me whispered, "Did she really just say that?" I didn't move, because in that moment something inside me went cold and calm at the same time. My name is Hannah Brooks. I am 32 years old, and that sentence, spoken so casually in a courtroom, was the exact moment my sister revealed how deeply she had misunderstood me. If you asked my family who the strong one was, they'd hesitate. If you asked who was the successful one, they'd say my sister Lauren, without thinking. Lauren had always been louder, brighter, better at selling a version of herself people wanted to believe. I was the quiet one, the planner. The one who stayed late and didn't complain. Growing up, Lauren needed attention the way some people need oxygen. My parents called it confidence. I learned early to stay out of her way. That habit followed us into adulthood. I bought my house when I was 29. No inheritance, no help, no dramatic story, just years of saving, saying no to trips, and working a job that didn't look impressive but paid consistently. It wasn't big, it wasn't trendy, but it was mine. And for the first time in my life, I felt stable. Lauren showed up at my door with 2 suitcases and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Just for a little while," she said. Things fell apart faster than I expected. They always did. I said yes because she was my sister, because family helps family, because I thought boundaries were implied. They weren't. At first it was small things. She rearranged furniture without asking, invited people over without telling me, started referring to rooms as ours. When I corrected her, she laughed. "You're so tense," she said. "I live here too." But living somewhere isn't the same as owning it. Lauren didn't see that distinction. Or maybe she did, and chose to ignore it. One night, I overheard her on the phone. "Yeah," she said casually, "it's basically my place. Long story." I stood frozen in the hallway. She noticed me and smiled, then added quickly, "We'll talk later." We didn't. What I didn't know was that Lauren had been telling that story everywhere. To friends, to her boyfriend, to people who had no reason to question her. She spoke with certainty, with entitlement, as if saying something enough times made it true. The envelope arrived on a Tuesday. Certified mail. I remember standing in my kitchen, reading my own name next to words that didn't make sense. Claim of shared ownership, financial contribution dispute, intent to establish rights. My sister was suing me for my own house. I sat down slowly, and not because I was scared, because I finally understood. Lauren sat confidently beside her lawyer. She didn't look at me. She didn't have to. She thought she'd already won. That's why she said it. "Finally, your house is mine." She believed the story she'd been telling for years. She believed confidence could replace proof. She believed silence meant weakness. She was wrong. Lauren never once asked how I paid the mortgage, never asked whose name was on the documents, never asked why I never argued loudly, because quiet people don't announce their preparation. We just do it. The judge adjusted her glasses and asked calmly, "Ms. Brooks, do you have documentation of sole ownership and payment history?" I nodded. "Yes," I said, "I do." Lauren shifted for the first time, just slightly. Lauren's smile didn't disappear right away. It softened, hesitated, like someone who suddenly realized the ground beneath them wasn't as solid as they thought. The judge gestured toward me. "Please submit your documents." I stood, walked to the clerk's desk and handed over a neatly organised folder. No dramatics, no speeches, just paper. Lauren glanced over, her eyebrows knitting together. I could almost hear the question forming in her head. Why does she look so calm? Lauren's lawyer flipped through my documents slowly. Too slowly. The courtroom was silent except for the soft sound of pages turning. Mortgage statements, tax records, utility bills, repair invoices, all in my name and all spanning years. Lauren leaned toward her lawyer and whispered something urgently. He didn't look up. That's when I saw it. Not panic yet, but confusion. When it was Lauren's turn, her lawyer stood and spoke confidently. He described how she had emotionally and financially invested in the home. He mentioned renovations, furniture purchases, shared understanding, the kind of vague language that sounds convincing until it's tested. The judge listened without interrupting. Then she asked a question that changed everything. Can you provide bank records showing these financial contributions toward the mortgage or property taxes? Lauren froze. Not dramatically, just still. Lauren handed over her folder. I recognised it immediately. Receipts from furniture stores, decor purchases, a few screenshots of transfers labelled house stuff. None of it was what she claimed it was. The judge examined the documents carefully. These appear to be discretionary expenses, she said, not ownership contributions. Lauren opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. As I sat there listening, I remembered every time Lauren had said, "Don't worry, I've got it. We're basically partners. You owe me." I used to wonder if I was misremembering things. Now I understood. She wasn't confused. She was rewriting history. The judge leaned back slightly. "Miss Harper," she said to Lauren, "do you have any written agreement stating shared ownership?" Lauren shook her head. "No, but..." "No verbal agreements are legally binding in this context," the judge said calmly. Lauren looked at me then, really looked at me, and like she was seeing me for the first time. Lauren had always relied on presence, on confidence, on sounding certain enough that people wouldn't question her. It had worked with friends, with partners, with our parents, but paper doesn't care how convincing you sound. The judge called for a brief recess. Lauren stood quickly, pacing near the benches. I stayed seated. I felt strangely steady, not triumphant, not angry, just finished. Lauren cornered me in the hallway. "You planned this," she hissed. I looked at her calmly. "No," I said, "I prepared." Her eyes widened slightly. "You're doing this to punish me." "I'm doing this to protect myself," she scoffed. "You always act so innocent." I didn't respond, because innocence wasn't the point. Truth was, when we returned, the energy had shifted. The judge spoke directly to Lauren. "Based on the evidence presented, the court finds no legal basis for shared ownership." Lauren inhaled sharply. The sentence wasn't finished yet. As the judge continued, Lauren interrupted. "This isn't fair," she blurted out. "I gave years of my life to that house." The judge raised a hand. "Emotional investment does not equal ownership." Lauren's voice cracked. For the first time, it wasn't performative, it was real. While everyone was focused on Lauren, I noticed something else. Her lawyer looked resigned, like this wasn't unexpected. Like he'd warned her, and she hadn't listened. The judge concluded, "The property remains solely owned by Miss Brooks. Miss Harper has no claim to ownership." Lauren stared at the bench. Her mouth opened slightly, then she laughed. A short, sharp sound. "This isn't over," she said. The judge met her gaze evenly. "It is for today." Outside the courtroom, our parents waited. My mother looked stunned. My father avoided my eyes. Lauren spoke first. "She manipulated everything," Lauren said loudly. "She planned this." I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to. The truth was already louder than I'd ever been. I went home alone, unlocked my front door, stood in the quiet. For the first time in months, the house felt like it could breathe again. I knew Lauren wasn't done. People like her don't stop when they lose. They escalate. And this time she wouldn't just be fighting for a house. She'd be fighting to save the version of herself she'd built on lies. Lauren didn't call me after the ruling. She didn't text either. That silence told me more than any angry message could. Lauren only went quiet when she was planning something, or when she had lost control of the narrative. This time it was the second. Within days the story reached people who had nothing to do with court, cousins, family friends, people I hadn't spoken to in years. The version they heard was polished and emotional. Lauren said I had turned on her, that I had used legal tricks, that I had waited for the perfect moment to humiliate her. Some believed her. At first, Lauren shared too much. She always did. She posted vague messages online about betrayal and injustice. She hinted at documents, at manipulation, at a system rigged against her. And people started asking questions, quiet ones, private ones, the kind that don't show up in comments but change how people see you. A week later, my parents came over. They hadn't been inside my house since the court date. My mother looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. "It's smaller than I remembered," she said softly. "It's always been this size," I replied. She nodded, embarrassed. My father cleared his throat. "Why didn't you tell us things were this bad between you and Lauren?" I took a breath. "I tried," I said. "You didn't hear me. I laid everything out, not dramatically and not angrily, just facts, bank statements, mortgage records, the timeline of Lauren moving in and never paying." My mother covered her mouth. "She told us she was helping you," she whispered. "I know," I said. That sentence landed heavier than anything else. For the first time, my parents didn't defend her immediately. They didn't excuse. They didn't redirect. They just sat there, quiet. That silence wasn't justice, but it was honesty, and it mattered. People stopped offering her places to stay. Friends who once praised her ambition became cautious. A few quietly distanced themselves, not because of the court case, because patterns had been exposed. The house wasn't the first thing she'd tried to claim. It was just the biggest. One night I received a long email from Lauren. No subject line, just paragraphs. She said I had embarrassed her, that I had ruined her reputation. That family doesn't do this to each other. She didn't mention the lies, or the lawsuit, or the declaration she'd made in court. Only the consequences. "I didn't take anything from you," I wrote. "I stopped you from taking from me. I didn't send anything else. I didn't need to." A month later, Lauren tried again, this time softer. She asked if we could talk things through, if I could understand her side. I agreed to meet her, not to reconcile and to close the door properly. Lauren arrived late. She always did. She looked tired. Not dramatic tired, real tired. "I never thought it would go this far," she said. "You took it to court," I replied calmly. She flinched. "I thought you'd fold," she admitted. That was the most honest thing she'd said in years. "I needed that house," she said. "I needed something solid." "So did I," I replied. She looked away. "You always land on your feet," she muttered. "No," I said. "I build my ground." She didn't respond. "I'm not angry," I told her. "But I'm done rescuing you." She nodded slowly, not in agreement, in realization. We stopped talking, not dramatically, just honestly. My parents adjusted and they stopped asking me to be the bigger person. They stopped expecting me to sacrifice stability for peace. That change took time, but it stuck. Months passed. I repainted the walls, rearranged the furniture, opened windows I'd kept closed for too long. The house wasn't just mine legally, and it felt mine emotionally. Losing control scares people more than losing relationships. Lauren didn't want my house. She wanted certainty without effort. And when she couldn't take it, she tried to rewrite reality. I ran into Lauren at a family event. She was quieter, less performative, still proud, but more careful. We nodded. That was enough. Sometimes I think about that courtroom moment when she said, "Finally, your house is mine." She thought that sentence was a victory. It wasn't. It was a confession. I didn't celebrate her loss. I didn't watch her struggle with satisfaction. I just lived my life without fear of being erased from it. And that, I learned, is the most powerful outcome of all. For a long time, I thought winning meant proving I was right. I was wrong. Winning was realizing I didn't need to keep explaining myself to people who only listened when it benefited them. After everything settled, life didn't suddenly become exciting. There were no dramatic apologies, no emotional speeches, and no perfect reconciliation, just quiet. And for the first time, that quiet didn't feel lonely. It felt earned. My parents didn't cut Lauren off. They didn't disown her or choose sides publicly. But something changed. They stopped asking me to compromise just this once. They stopped assuming I would bend. My mother once said quietly, "I didn't realize how much you were carrying." I nodded. That acknowledgement, late as it was, still mattered. I started doing things I had postponed for years. I planted flowers in the front yard. I turned the spare room into a small office. I hosted friends without anxiety. No one rearranged things without asking. No one spoke over me. No one acted entitled to what I had built. The house didn't feel bigger. I did. Months later, Lauren reached out one final time. She didn't ask for anything. That alone told me she'd changed, at least a little. "I'm moving," she said. "Out of state. New start." "That sounds good," I replied. She hesitated. I never meant to hurt you," she said. I believed she meant it. I also knew intention didn't erase impact. "I know," I said, "but that doesn't undo things." She nodded. "I hope you're happy," she added. "I am," I said honestly. That was the end of it. No one talks about how hard it is to stop rescuing someone you love, especially when you've been praised your whole life for being the reasonable one. Setting boundaries felt selfish at first. Then it felt necessary. Then it felt normal. Sometimes that courtroom moment still replays in my mind. Her voice, her confidence, her declaration, "Finally, your house is mine." She thought ownership was something you could take if you were bold enough. She didn't understand that ownership is built quietly, over time, with discipline and patience. I didn't gain revenge. I gained peace. I gained the ability to sit in my own living room without tension in my shoulders. I gained the freedom to say no without guilt. I gained myself back. If someone in your life keeps taking and calling it love, if your silence is mistaken for weakness, if you're afraid that standing up for yourself will make you the villain, let me tell you something I learned the hard way. People who benefit from your boundaries disappearing will always be angry when you draw them. That doesn't mean you're wrong. The court didn't just give me back my house. It gave me permission. Permission to stop explaining. Permission to stop shrinking. Permission to live without apologizing for stability. And that was something no one could ever take from me. Not even my sister. My name is Hannah Brooks. I am 32 years old. And the house she once claimed in court? It's still mine, Not because a judge said so, but because I learned to protect what I built, quietly, firmly and without regret.